Hello and welcome to another video in Zenatta Consulting's tutorial series. In this video, we're going to be walking through the new Zoho One Admin Panel in a little more depth than we have in some of our other videos where we've kind of touched on the subject. Before we do jump in, I do want to ask if you find this video useful, please be sure to like and subscribe down below. That really helps us out in terms of knowing that we're making content that's useful for you all. And then if you do have any questions or comments, please leave those in the comments below as well. We do actually answer pretty much each and every one of those on our weekly podcast every single Friday. So with that, my name is Tyler Colt, and let's get right on into it. So I'm here in the new Zoho One admin panel. I'm in a demo account, so it's kind of fresh. Not everything has been set up. I've landed here, if we look in the top left under this little getting started menu, I recommend you actually use this. It's something that they added not too long ago to this UI, and it is actually a pretty useful tour that kind of gets you through a lot of the different things that you might need to touch on within the application. Right, so you can kind of go on a quick tour, add some apps, add users to those apps, actually launch into them, set up certain admin users that you might need, get an overall walkthrough tour. Then down below, they've got a couple different support options, right, by email, by chat, by phone. And then on the right, they've got a bunch of different videos that are pretty quick little overviews of kind of which products might fit into different categories within the overall product suite. Even as someone who works with Zoho all the time, I know that it is hard to keep the application straight sometimes because there's about 50 now that are included with Zoho One. So these can kind of be a good way just to get kind of oriented with which applications might be useful for different parts of your business. So with that, let me go ahead and jump to the home page and give kind of a quick tour of what is where in here. So on our homepage, we can actually create dashboards that will involve components from a variety of different Zoho applications. Can be super useful for people that are kind of cross-functional. I'll circle back and show you how to set these up in just a moment. But outside of your dashboard, kind of across the entirety of Zoho One, you'll have this little pop-out tab on the left. And this essentially is a way to be able to quickly access various applications that you might use very regularly, right? So here I've got a couple that are in this pinned apps section, right? And so I can pin them over here on the right. So Click, WorkDrive, Analytics, CRM, SalesIQ, and Books. And then I have some other applications here that just show up based on how recently you've accessed them that are not yet pinned. But if I wanted to go ahead and pin one, I can just click the little pin icon and it'll pop right up to that section. From here as well, I can actually launch each of these applications. So if I just click CRM, we'll see that the right side of the screen kind of changes here. So even though I'm still at a Zoho One URL, I'm now actually opened up into my CRM. This can be kind of nice, for, again, those people that might need to jump through a few applications within a day. They can kind of just go to one URL and access any of those as they need to. So back to our home page here, I'll highlight a little bit more about this left bar just so you know what's here. You can access your full company directory. You can run a ZIA search, which is actually a nice little tool that they've added, which will essentially search across any of your applications for references to whatever you're searching for. You can also access your unified calendar and unified tasking through here as well. I'm probably going to save those for a different video and kind of break down exactly how you might end up using the calendar and tasking here. So the last element to kind of rounding out your homepage inside of the new Zoho One UI is your dashboard. And I definitely recommend playing around with this. So I've gone ahead and created a new dashboard, right? So we're going to need to, give it a name, choose who's going to see it, and add any of the widgets that we want to include. So I'll call this just like our primary dashboard. I can make it visible just to me, or I can make it visible to everybody. So let's say I'm feeling generous and I'll make it visible to everybody. And then over here on the right are where we can define what we want to add to this dashboard. So at the time of recording this video, you are not yet able to create your own custom widgets. We can only pull from some of these pre-baked or pre-configured widgets here on the right. I know it is in the roadmap to be able to create our own kind of custom little widgets that we can have here. But for now, I'll grab a couple of these that are pretty common. You might want to see something like my upcoming meetings. And if I just click plus, it'll go ahead and add that right in. Maybe I want to see any open tasks inside of Zoho projects, right? And it'll drop that right into the system. Maybe my open tickets, right? So I can see if there's anything I've been assigned to. And then maybe I want to also pull in my deals. And then all I need to do here is kind of determine, what's my order of operations, in what order do I want to see things? Maybe I would say that, if I have a meeting that's upcoming right now or an open ticket, maybe I want to do that first. So I could put those up here at the top. And then maybe once I'm done with all of my kind of immediate need items, I could jump into working some of my backlog of projects or jumping in on any deals that are, listed under me that I might need to work on. And so it's really that easy. We've just very quickly here prepared a dashboard that pulls in data from 4 completely different applications. Now you're able to see that kind of as a launch pad for your day. Now, I will highlight, I don't think that this Zoho One dashboard is a replacement for going into the individual apps. Maybe one day it will be as it gets a little bit more customizable. But right now, I really would look at it as a way to kickstart your day, right? So you want to put things on here that you want to get a quick view of, and then you can jump into any of the specific applications where you really need to spend your time. And so with that kind of covers our initial homepage walkthrough. Our next section here will be about the admin tools within Zoho One, and there are many. I think one of the biggest advantages to Zoho One is actually the ability to administer all of these applications from the same place. I know internally, almost everything that we use is Zoho, and I love that I can just add a user, put them into a group, and all these different applications are just going to be assigned with the proper security controls. So as a quick overview here, we've got our kind of side panel of the different settings and options that we can dive into. Your dashboard is really just going to give you some of that top level activity data, right? Who is signing in? Where are they signing in from? How many apps do we have deployed? So really just a quick little top down. Under organization, we can set up some of the key things about our business, right? If we want to say what our phone is, our fax, our website address, anything like that. We can create different work locations, which we're not going to dive into too much in this session right now. We can also create designations, which are essentially like a different role or group at the company that you might want to assign somebody to. The next little tab down is a big one, which is our applications. So when you're using Zoho One, rolling out an application kind of has 2 steps. So first, you need to add the application to Zoho One. Then you can go ahead and associate any users that you want to have access to that application. And so from this page, if we actually did want to add a new application into our kind of Zoho One environment, I can just go up here to the top right and click Add Application. And then I can scroll through and pick up really any of the other applications that are included with Zoho One. So none of these cost any more to add. They're just things that you essentially haven't turned on yet. As a general rule of thumb, we think it's a best practice to actually activate pretty much all applications within Zoho One when you do turn on the Zoho One account. The main reason is that if you've already activated it for Zoho One, and a user of your Zoho One account, lands on the assist page, right? And maybe tries to start a trial. It's going to help Zoho not allow them to create that trial and kind of redirect them back to you so that you could permission them for those apps. it just saves a little bit of pain and suffering in terms of having people have to disable a trial that they created and then have them re-added under the proper account associated with Zoho One. So generally we'll advise that you add them all, even if you're not going to use them, just because it gives you the flexibility to roll them out later without having to do a little bit of cleanup work. Now, within a specific application, if we were to open up something like campaigns, we can see, which users are currently a part of this application. And then we can see any conditional assignment rules that we might have set up that would automatically assign someone to this application. To actually add a user, we would just go up to the top right and click this Assign a User. And we can grab from any of the existing users that are part of our system. And then we'll have to determine, which role they should be within that application, so that we can control, their permissions, what types of things they can view, if they have the ability to delete anything, right? The whole kind of, gambit of permissions options. Now, you might be noticing this little group here. I'll show groups in just a moment. This is how we end up doing a lot of our assignment, is by setting people up into groups and then allowing those fancy conditional assignment rules to do some work for us. So I'll actually circle onto that in just a couple sections here. Users, pretty simple, right? This is basically where we can go ahead and invite a user to be a part of our Zoho One account. We can also view on a user by user basis any of the applications that they're a part of, any group that they're in, the last time that they've logged in, or if they have any open sessions, more of like an IT function if you need to check that. You can also do quick things like reset their password, reset their multi-factor authentication. So if someone locks himself out, this is essentially where you would go to let them back in. The admin section is an interesting one. So there's kind of two types of admins that you can set up in Zoho One. You can set up an admin of the Zoho One account as a whole, right? So that would mean that that person can make themselves an admin of a specific application, right? They could change anybody's, application permissions. They could come in and update the organization information. So you want to be very particular with who has the Zoho One admin access. What we'll oftentimes do is essentially have one account be like the key holder for the Zoho One admin license. And then we'll make particular people maybe additional admins of the specific applications where we want them to work, right? And so like in this case, we have our user 2 is an additional admin for, CRM, right? So maybe they are a sales manager, a VP of sales. They need to be able to just have their way in CRM, customize things, reassign records. We're not going to control their permissions there. So we can actually make them an admin just of the individual app that's pertinent for them. That becomes pretty important just because you're going to have so much of your workflow running through Zoho One over time. And so data security, though it isn't sexy, it is an important thing to make sure that you have buttoned up, because you don't want to put yourself in a position where anything goes wrong as a result. So now I'm going to get into groups and those conditional assignment rules, because this is how you're going to save yourself just a ton of time when you're onboarding new employees. So under the group section, I'm going to go ahead and create a new group. I'm not very creative, so I'm going to actually create a group that we have internally at Zenatta, which is consultants. Now, people can belong to two different types of groups. You have a collaboration group where they can belong to more than one, and a department where they can only belong to one. And they can have a department and multiple collaboration groups. We find ourselves using departments more than these other collaboration-driven groups because generally for conditional assignment, you're going to set things up based on like their role at the company. So for this, we have a couple things we need to fill in. We'll have to put a department head. So I'm going to put our primary user. And then you'll need one or multiple moderators. So this is someone who can come in and remove a member, change the settings, right? Kind of take action on the group as a whole. And then you'll need to define some people as members. So I've just set up a really simple one here where we have one moderator and one member. Obviously, these can have a lot more people involved depending on how you're building them out. So I've gone ahead and created our group, and that'll show up here as a list of, all of these different departments or groupings that you're making for your company. Now, the real reason to use groups primarily is to run conditional assignment. So this is really just a way to set up a rule set where, we could say anybody that is a consultant should have, user permission in CRM, invoice only permission in Zoho Books. They should be a user inside of Zoho Click, and basically go line by line and just predefine all of the specific permissions that they should have. As you can imagine, again, with 50 applications, even if you were just using 10, it's still going to save you a boatload of time not having to go one by one when you're onboarding a new employee. So I'm going to go ahead and assign an app. So let's say that anybody who's in this consultant role should have access to campaigns. We can determine if this rule should apply to existing users, and we can also determine if this should overwrite the roles assigned manually to those users. Most of the time, I check the first one and not the second. If we've made the decision specifically for a user to put them in a category, then we can go ahead and let it stay that way. So then we can determine if we want to apply it to all users within that group, or just users that match a certain criteria inside of that group. So in this case, we're going to go with all members of the group. And then we'll have to determine what types of permissions they should have inside of that application. So we're just going to make them a user of campaigns. And then I can go ahead and add that to our assignment. But the beauty, again, is that we can do more than one application. So let's say that I also want the consultants to have access to Zoho Desk. And I'll go ahead and say that they're going to be an agent and they're going to be a part of this department here, but maybe not our second department because that's for billing concerns only. And then I can go ahead and save that. And, again, as you see, there's just so many applications here that you're really going to save yourself time when you can just put someone in a group and know that all of these different applications are going to be rolled out to them accordingly. We're going to skip domains for now and skip down here to security. Security is, of course, a big one. As I've mentioned a couple times, Zoho One can end up storing a ton of data about your company. All your leads, all your deals, the way that your contracts work, your billing, if you're using Zoho Books. So security is very important. Within Zoho One, we can set up security policies that must be followed by different users or groups. This is just a demo account, so I'm not going to turn this on because I'll lock myself out here. But when we set up a security policy, we can determine if anyone should be excluded, right, from that policy. Generally, everybody should have to follow some type of rule. Even, the CEO, the admins, we've all got to have certain policies in place. Within here, we can determine password policies. So how long, how many special characters, anything like that. We can actually require that people turn on multi-factor authentication. I think you should. It's one of those things where you don't want to be caught without it when it would have saved you. We can also control which IP addresses people can log in from. A little tougher in the world of remote work, but if you are in an office environment and you want to restrict it so that people can't get in unless they are on site, you can surely do that here. And then there's a variety of settings kind of specific around session management, right? So should people have their sessions automatically closed? Should they be logged out if they haven't touched anything in a couple hours? And then how many sessions should people be allowed to have open at the same time? So again, important things to manage. Again, do it before you need to. Device management, we're not going to talk too deeply about. This is essentially if you wanted to have a little bit of mobile device management software to control, deploy applications selectively. Within the admin tool, we can also jump into the marketplace and telephony customization. Once you're on Zoho One, you can actually plug a telephony tool into the entire thing via the phone bridge and have it pass through to CRM and to Desk and Recruit and any of the various applications that you need it. If you do want to have a sync with a third-party directory, you can also set that up via the Zoho One Admin Panel. And then lastly, there's a select few groups of reports here if you did want to get a little more granular. Again, most of this is going to be either about security or about activity, right? So this isn't any reports about like how many leads did we make, right? How many deals did we close? This is going to be like session reporting, last login reporting and things like that. And I think with that, we have covered really the main meat and potatoes here within Zoho One. Really do hope that this video was useful for you. If you found that it was, again, we'd love if you would like and subscribe down below. That'll make sure that YouTube's algorithm will continue to show you content that is similar to ours, and it lets us know that we're on the right track with the things that we're putting out for you guys. If this did spark any questions or comments, please do leave those down below as well. We do try to review and answer as many of those as we can every single week on Friday during our podcast, the CRM Zen Show. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.